let's talk a little bit about person accounts within Salesforce. When I'm in the leads and I click new, it just pops up and has me create a new lead and notice that company is required. But what if I'm selling to an individual and not a company? It still makes me type in a company. So a lot of businesses will type in either the person's name again as the company, or they'll create, like, just call it individual, do different things like that. If you say you use the word individual for everybody, then it's going to look like you have a bunch of people that work for the same company on a company called individual, and that can cause problems. So you really need to think through how you're going to label or what you're going to do with your individuals. Or if this is a big deal, Salesforce does have what they call a person account that can be turned on. So that once you turn that on, company no longer becomes required, but in the background, Salesforce basically creates some information and fills in that company field automatically for you based on some criteria. So again, a lot of business to consumers company, the B2C companies, they like that because they're not selling to companies and they want to track a lot of information about their consumers. So let's jump in. Let's cancel out of this. And we'll go to the gear and let's go to setup. Within setup, type in person. And notice you have person accounts here. So this is going to walk you through, again, person accounts store information about people by combining certain account and contact fields into a single record. There's a lot of impact on your organization because when you do this, when you create a new lead, now it's also going to create a contact. And you have storage limitations within Salesforce, so now you're basically kind of doubling the amount of storage that it takes to save a person within your organization, because now they're a lead and a contact based on this person account. So they're going to want to make sure that you walk through each of these steps to know here's what the impact is going to be on your organization. You are also required to create a record type. So what that means is when I'm back on my lead, when I click new, rather than popping this box up, it's going to pop up another box first asking me if I'm going to create a company or an individual. So if I would choose company, then it would give me this screen and require the company. If I chose individual, it would give me the other screen with the company auto filled in based on the name that I put in. Let's go back to person accounts. Again, you have to have permissions set up a certain way, and your organization-wide sharing has to be set up a certain way. All this has to be done, and you have to pass it before you can enable person accounts. So again, some people will also talk about a household account. That's for the nonprofit. A lot of them in PSP will use a household account. These are different. Household accounts don't require an architectural change. There's nothing to enable to get those to working, but the person account does require some changes. Another thing to remember is a person account cannot have a direct relationship with another account or a contact. However, you can use contacts to multiple accounts to create an indirect relationship between a person and another person, or a business account or a contact. So the relationships are a little bit different as well. So you want to make sure that you understand how all of that will work once you change this to a person account. Another thing to remember is once you enable a person account, you cannot disable it, so it will be there forever. So again, make sure that you've thought this through. There's a lot of good articles. Salesforce definitely has some articles out there on their website explaining the pros and cons of this, and you want to make sure everybody understands it. Again, to ensure that this is going to make that it will work for your company. Again, review to make sure you have enough storage so that you can support this. If you use Apex code, you're going to have to also make sure that it's set up and will work with these new person accounts. And make sure you have a sandbox where you can test this out before you enable it, because you don't want to enable this in production unless you fully understand what it's going to do. Because again, it's going to count against your storage. When you create or edit anything on a person account, if you have workflow rules or process builders, they're always going to be initiated, and that can cause some performance issues. Anything automated in the background is going to run. And again, Salesforce is going to be getting rid of some of that and going to flow in the future. So again, you're going to want to test it and make sure that your flows are still going to work. Once you enable a person account, you're going to lose the ability to access the standard Salesforce fields of the parent account. You can't view hierarchy, and you can't use the reports to field. So again, there's a lot of people that feel strongly for and against person accounts. Just make sure that you understand how it's going to work and how it's going to impact your organization before you enable this.